Girl, they're coming for the beans. They're coming for the beans.
They're coming for the beans. First they took away our liberties. Now they're taking away our
motherfucking. What are we gonna do without the black beans? Welcome back, everybody. It's I'ma Let You Finish with Courtney and Amy. Listening Party presents I'ma Let You Finish. Hey guys, we're back. New episode. They're coming for Goya. Ms. Goya. Now, what exactly happened? You know, there's so much in the cancel culture, I gotta be honest with you, that I've just tuned out of everything.
I don't know. Basically, what's his face? Because we've made, by the way, we have made a pledge that we're not mentioning two topics. And anyone who can guess what the two topics is that we're not mentioning, which means you have to listen to the show, will get absolutely nothing other than our undying love. It's going to be like one of those Facebook posts where you go, I want to see if you're reading this. It's like, fuck you, I'm not.
Don't those kill you? It's always like, I want to see, and tag me back on this. I'm like, I'm not doing any of this. And I read it.
Yeah, and I read it, and fuck you. Okay. If you actually are my friend, you know that I don't want to read these things.
Right.
So
like my mom has just joined Facebook this season because, you know, her church has gone online and where the service happens is on Facebook Live. So now that she's new to Facebook, she's in the new phase of, you know, the chain. I've sent you this blessing. Pass it on to 7 people. I'm like, okay, we're at that phase of it. All right, guys.
Yeah, we're at that. All right, so basically the president of Goya, whatever, was at the White House yesterday, whatever, and gave some speech where he basically was like, oh my God, this is the greatest guy in the history of mankind, blah, 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 blah. So, you know, it was like, everybody assumes that all people of color and Latinos and Hispanics are going to be liberal. This guy...
Yeah, no, we're not a monolithic group of people. We're not.
Well, this guy is rich. I mean, rich is different. And he's an American citizen, so the idea of what's going on in the border doesn't personally affect him, if that was the conversation. And, not for nothing, as horrible what happened with Mariah, it may not have affected him. I'm sure he lives in a really nice place in San Juan.
But again, Latinos are not a monolithic group. There are a lot of Latinos that are very conservative because, you know, a lot of it's based around religion. So there are a lot of Latinos and Latino groups that are Republican and conservative. Listen, I used to work in Texas. I was around a lot of conservative Latin folks who, you know, everybody would automatically assume, well, you know, clearly you're liberal, and they weren't.
Yeah, no, of course. Yeah, no, I'm just saying, nobody is monolithic, but the point... Yeah. Anyway, so whatever this guy is,
they're not, but the way they talk about us, we all are. Like, when you hear the way they talk about Latins and blacks, it's always like, we're all Democrats, we're all this thing, and it's like, well, that's not, like, it's very weird how we just get lumped into this, black people are all this, they're all poor, they all grew up, everybody, it's like, that's not the case.
Well, they do that actually with every group because they think that all Jews are Democrats and liberals and support Israel, and they think that all women vote on women's issues only, and they just do it. I mean, it's across the board. So
now, there's also a scandal with the Jews right now because I guess Deshaun Jackson made a comment about something about the Jews on Twitter, and people are really upset. And now Julian Edelman wants to take them like to the Holocaust Museum. It's like a thing going. Like people are saying, listen, right now. Listen, we're not going to get into all of this, people, but the world has gone apeshit, and the divide and conquer has worked. All of us subgroups, they have divided everybody. We're fighting each other while the rich people are sitting back laughing, just getting richer and richer and richer. Wake up. Vote in November.
People being anti-Semitic does not even big surprise, you know.
No, but the thing is, there was a time where, you know, it was almost like being a racist and anti-Semitic. They were hiding in the back. And now everybody just feels like, oh, well, it's open season. I can just say what the fuck ever I want to say. And that's it. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is.
Like the country's burning down and the Trump's talking about Bubba Wallace. I know. I just have to say. It's like NASCAR fucking found 11 garages that had the hang down pulley. Only one was shaped like a noose, and that was in Bubba's garage. That's all I'm going to say. How come none of the other 11 had that same knot? Just that one.
Okay. I don't know.
And speaking of white people and craziness,
all right, yeah, okay.
Lady Antebellum.
All right, first off, I just want to say that I have a new name for them. I saw two names. One I made up and one I stole. So the first name I think they can go for is Lady Karen.
No.
And then the other one I saw, which I did not come up with, but I have been given permission on the interwebs to steal it. I'm a ghostwriter for this. Lady Anti-BLM.
That's a good one.
That's a good one, right?
On a lighter note, if you're a white woman and your actual name is Karen...
the only people I know named Karen are black.
All the Karens I know are black.
I really do. I could go down a list of Karens.
If you're a white woman named Becky or Karen right now, is your life hell?
Yeah, it's time to go. Yeah, it's time to go. Well,
anyway, how do they not find a way to make this deal? Okay, they come back and be like, they want $10 million. It's like, you negotiate, you figure out a way to share the name.
Well, here's the deal. Here's what the latest controversy is. All right, so Lady Antebellum in one of the, really? We had a racist name? We didn't know. So in that whole week and a half, that whole week and a half where suddenly white people were like, really? There's racism? That's terrible. So they did that whole, I'm working to change. We want to have a dialogue. FYI, Damon Young, our brother, who's the funniest guy ever, has a hilarious editorial in today's Times about hey, when I'm going out for ice cream, I really don't want to discuss racism. Can you just let me get my ice cream, please? Anyway, so Lady Antebellum had this big, reckoning moment, and we want to have a dialogue, and blah, 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 blah. So they said they were going to call themselves Lady A, which has sort of been a nickname the group has been called by their fans, because their fans are probably too stupid to say the whole word there. I said it. But anyway, and so they say, I wrote this down, they say that they've had that trademark since 2010. Now, there's a singer named Anita White who has been performing as Lady A since 1987. And she's an indie artist, she's a blues singer, right? But she's a black woman. So she's a black indie artist. So how the hell is she going to know that Lady Antebellum trademarked Lady A in 2010? She's in Seattle. They're in Nashville. So anyway, now Lady Antebellum, or whatever the fuck they're called, are coming after Lady A, saying she cannot continue to use that name. And so
no. That's not what the suit says. We have to put correct information out there. That's not correct. What happened was they were agreeing to both use the name, and they thought everything was great, and they were going to coexist with this name. And they're saying that for the use of the name, that they're saying Anita's people came and they want to be paid $10 million.
Oh, right. I'm sorry. Yes, you're right. Okay.
And so that changes it. And so now the fight has become about money, saying that she's saying, I built this name, blah, blah, blah. But if they own the trademark, which is where it gets weird, if they've trademarked this name and they've had that trademark for years, you own it. But I really wish that this just hadn't become so public and just find a way to make it work. Listen, the Chicks changed their name to the Chicks. There's an Australian band called the Chicks. When they put out their statement talking about we're changing our name, they're thanking them for graciously letting them share the name with them, because they're both going to use the name, which means the deal was worked out. So I'm mad at Lady Antebellum as this bigger act, filing this suit. It's y'all find a way to work this shit out.
Well, it's also, of course, that's definitely key to it. And the other thing is just the optics of it. If the whole reason they changed their name was in this, we're having this great moment of white reckoning, and the person they've decided to take to the mat is a black woman, it's you kind of just undercut the whole, that's white supremacy right there. I have the financial means to bury you. So, yeah, so Dixie Chicks doing what they did is, well, first off, Dixie Chicks have a much better, legacy, but, they acknowledge the other group, and, maybe they slipped them some money, or maybe that other group wasn't active.
No, I'm sure they did it the right way. It's like if you're sharing a name, there's some money exchange, a deal was made, that's all legal paperwork, because this is not kid stuff. And their people should have been going back and forth. It's like, honestly, would I pay somebody $10 million? I probably wouldn't either, but I'm sure there's a number they can settle on.
Yes,
that would have been all right before there is a lawsuit, and now you're making this ugly and putting out this statement, which to me was just kind of, you might as well just keep lady fucking antebellum. I mean, like, come on.
Yeah, exactly.
Why do we all know about this? We shouldn't know about this. Figure it out.
You've just completely stepped on your own message. You're doing this out of the goodness of your white hearts, and now you're like, oh, but while we're at it, we're going to crush you.
Right.
Duo album, that's what I say, duo album.
Yeah.
I'm like, can you eat whatever? I cannot believe we discussed this the last time. It would be like having a band called Lady Auschwitz. You couldn't figure out that Antebellum was a bad. Come on,
It's all so dramatic right now. Everything is so fucking dramatic.
But how do you not? No, I mean, seriously. I mean, I'm not jumping on this band, but it's like there are just certain things that people know are bad. And how are you raised in the South not knowing? I guess
we all loved the fucking Dukes of Hazzard for years, and listen, they drove the General Lee, which was a giant Confederate flag, and RuPaul as racial tensions in Tu Wong Fu, when she comes down at the beginning, her gown is the Confederate flag. So there's a lot of, listen, we talk about this all the time. Things change, meanings change, right? When I was young, calling somebody queer was a bad thing. That was the same as calling somebody a faggot. It was the same thing. And now the word's been taken back and it's used in a different way. It's also confusing. There's no room for nuance in 2020, which is very surprising to me, because there used to be people got the nuance of something. Now, no room for nuance. It's very black and white.
Yeah. Well, there's no room for nuance, and this kind of leads into our next thing. There's no room for nuance because, a lot of younger people lack critical analytical skills, and all of our discussions are taking place on social media.
Right.
And there cannot be nuance on social media because there's no inflection. You can't sit there and go, oh, I meant this when I'm actually just typing it out. So speaking of that, Hamilton, maybe you've heard of it, little indie puppet show.
Well, wait, before we get to that, because that's TV, let's talk about Mariah, because then Hamilton.
Yeah.
Okay, here's the thing. It's the book I didn't know I needed until I knew I needed it, which was yesterday. I worked at Columbia. I saw a lot of shit. Things were really, some strange shit happened. It was really a bug out. Some of the things that I saw happen as far as her, and just watching her, like, she's a really cool lady, and seeing her in some situations and then seeing her in situations with her ex-husband, it was almost like seeing two different people. And
what years were you there?
I started interning during probably the run of Music Box.
Okay.
And
what singles are those? Just what
Music Box Music Box is Dream Lover, Anytime You Need a Friend, all the way through Rainbow, which is the last album on Columbia before she left and went to Virgin.
Okay.
So I saw a lot of shit. The biggest time that had the most fuckery was Butterfly, which is when she was getting a divorce. And then a lot of fucked up shit started happening. And it was really obvious and it was really crazy. So I'd like to hear from her perspective what was happening, because I know what it appeared like from one side, and it was really kind of, for lack of a better word, it's like it almost seemed a little sabotagey.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I think,
it's weird.
well, there's a couple things with her. I mean, the thing with Mariah is that, first off, she or her people decided to work with Michaela Angela Davis, who is a friend of mine, and I'm sure you know Michaela as well. Michaela is not a fluff writer. Michaela is a woman who has spent the majority of her professional career empowering and working with young black women and young women of color. So this is not going to be like your typical sort of, you know, glossing over things. So when you're pulling in someone like Michaela, not that it's going to be like some political book, but you're definitely thinking of going in a certain way. And one of the things that was always really notable about Mariah in the beginning was that they being the label, really downplayed to the point of denying that she was black.
Oh, yeah, man.
They always played up. I think I told you the story that I was hired to do a bio for one of her early albums, and they wanted to make it edgy. And I said, well, should I talk about her being black? And they said, well, that's just apocryphal. No one's apocryphal black. I mean, she's something. You can look at her and tell something's up.
Right.
So they always did like the Prince thing where like he was Italian and he had a white mother or some shit like that. Okay. And the fact that she was, right, you know, it was just bullshit. And the fact that she was, and the time, okay, you would know this. Did she have to sign an NDA when she divorced Tommy?
There was, I'm sure there was some sort of separation agreement. It was
something, right?
I'm sure there was something. But listen, I remember when we taped her home video, and like Tommy did not. This was the beginning of hip hop artists getting on pop artist records. She's at the beginning of that. It's like her and Mary J. Blige are at the beginning of that.
Well, Jerry Watley.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I always forget about Friends. That's right. That's right. In the late 80s.
I feel for you.
Yeah, that's true.
Let's say Mariah. All right, I see your point. Let's say that Mariah was definitely gearing as much R&B as she was pop. Definitely working her pop.
But when we taped that, ODB was there. They were never on the stage at the same time. She did her part, then they stopped. It was one of those tapings, you know, I like, if we're going to do a taping, a live to tape, where you start, you stop, you get what you get. Right. This one was one of those start a song, stop, start, stop. So she does her part of Fantasy, then he comes out and does his part. They are never together. That's how much he was not trying to have her, like, around the
block.
It wasn't until Butterfly when she felt free, and then she had the Honey remix and fucking
Honey, right? That Q-Tip did, right?
And it was like Puffy and Puffy did it, and it was Puffy and Mace and all of those guys, and he just was like that. And then the Ruth video, which we weren't really allowed to really send to anybody, which was a great song. Everybody wanted the video. We couldn't send it to any of the. This is back when local video shows were. There was a gazillion of them across the country, and they really helped break records. Everybody wanted the video. We couldn't send it. It's crazy.
Well,
just all these different things.
Yeah, and I think the other thing, besides from her early stuff, which is definitely, I think, going to be interesting, if she talks about it, but I think that she's a woman, and I noticed this when someone responded when I posted yesterday about this. I think women are obviously much more marginalized in terms of their intelligence and their control, and that's the first reaction. Look, none of these celebrities write their own fucking books.
Right.
Let's just start with that, okay?
Right.
It's just very few people are so skilled in two fields that they can write, they can be a great artist and a great writer. It's not that easy. But the fact that the first response is, oh, yeah, sure, I'm sure she wrote this, oh, yeah. She may be flaky, she may be weird, but I think she's in control of her image, and I think she is not stupid, and she still has a career, and she's a songwriter, and I just
And that's the part, yeah. You know, I'm like, listen, Mariah Carey's been writing her songs for a very long time. Why would you think she couldn't put pen to paper and you know, know how to write something.
Yeah, I just resented that. I mean, I'm not
Yeah.
saying it's going to, I just resent the idea that the first idea is that, oh, this is going to be some bullshit. For all we know, she might go into some really deep stuff or not. I'm assuming she will, but I just don't like this dismissive, oh, it's Mariah Carey, she's not going to be able to write anything.
I have a feeling that Mariah Carey doing this book at 50, she's going to write her truth. Like, why she doesn't need to do it. You know what I mean?
Why do you have a siren going through your house?
Yeah, because, welcome to New York, kids. There's always a siren. But yeah, and see how that shit is? That's authentic. But yeah, I think that she's 50 years old.
Great.
She's going to listen, if you've ever been around her and had a conversation with her, she's not a phony chick. Mariah, right. I think this is going to be a great book with a lot to say, because a lot has been written about her, but she's never really said it. So, yeah, and like you said, she picked Michaela. Michaela's not coming along to just write some fluffy poo-poo. Like, it's going to be a real book.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to it on many levels. I knew it was coming just because I had heard that it was coming, and I think it's going to be interesting. Yeah, all right, so can we say, all right, so, in Hamilton. Look, Hamilton is obviously, beyond a Broadway play. It's a phenomenon. It's been on Broadway since 2016. It was very much a product of the Obama era. Obviously, we were all filled with. Well, it was off Broadway first. I have friends who saw it at the Public.
At the Public, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Disney Plus, which is like a channel I could have cared less about up until now. Mm-hmm. The movie Hamilton was filmed. It's not a movie. It's a filmed version of the play. And it was going to be released in theaters in like 2021. But because of everything that's going on, they said, fuck it. Let's just put it out. Let's stream it on an already existing platform. So it's streaming currently right now on Disney Plus. It started July 3rd, Independence Day, blah, blah, blah. We literally do have a captive audience. I watched it. I had never seen it on Broadway for various reasons, money, availability. People whose taste I really trust really liked it. I have issues in terms of it artistically, but I think that it's really, really good. The singing's great. The reason I wanted to talk about it, or we wanted to talk about it, it's suddenly become, and this goes back to the whole social media thing, where everybody on social media thinks what they have to say is interesting. You know what I mean? It's like, not really. I don't need to see your trick to how you're looking good during the pandemic. I don't give a fuck. But anyway, right? I mean, come on. Am I wrong? I mean, come on. Do I need to see?
I'm so over I'm just so over Zoom concerts. I'm over people in their living room. I don't care about your pool. I don't care about your 10 dogs. I don't care about, you're juicing, you're making something exciting. I don't care that you learned how to do your own hair. I don't care.
I don't care. But anyway, so suddenly it seems it's become very cool to not like Hamilton. And there is that kind of like, I loved Radiohead until they actually sold records. And then I stopped liking them. So there is a little kind of like, I only listen to the rarities and the B-sides and the stuff that's sold in Botswana in small independent labels. But look, as a piece of history, it's obviously not 100% accurate, right? It's not a documentary. I don't really care, though, what Lin-Manuel Miranda's father does for the Democratic Party, because that's been one of the criticisms. I don't really care. I don't care because I don't think it interferes with the art. The art itself is really, my opinion, good. And it's just become this kind of cool, I never liked it. Okay. You know what I mean? So I know that did you see it or you were offered a chance to see it?
This always shocks people in French when I say it, that I've turned down tickets for Hamilton I don't know how many times. It's like, I love the theater. I'm a theater guy. I go see everything. I don't want to see Hamilton. I've never wanted to see it. I still don't want to see it. I've listened to the music once. I was like, I don't really like this music. It doesn't appeal to me. It just doesn't. It still doesn't.
But you're making a decision based on aesthetics and taste, not
politics. Yeah, you know, it has nothing to do with politics. It's just not a show that I want to see. I still don't want to see it. I am glad that people love it. I'm glad that people were sleeping outside and doing everything that they do, returning to the theater, bringing excitement to the theater. I really love that it had that moment of bringing excitement to Broadway, and people were really coming for something, and it was an event, and especially with that original cast, it was the thing to do. And I love when Broadway has that sort of electricity, that show, because I think other shows benefit because, you know, people come to town, they want to try to get this one, you can't get tickets for this one, so they go see something else, and I think other things tend to benefit. But I've seen all of the different debates about it, but at the end of the day, I'm like, guys, you're all debating it, but they already got what they wanted. You've already watched it. You've given them the number, so it's great that you hate it. Disney's like, thank you, though. We already have our number. We got what we need from you.
No, but it's also like, I don't want to watch. I don't know. Look, my feeling
Listen, it's always going to be the people who are very austere about everything, right? And everything is so like, oh, if we all like green, it's like, well, I never wear green. I don't like green. There's always that person and those people who want to be the ones who anti just for the sake of being anti.
Look, my feeling was my neighbor gave me his Disney Plus password, which was very nice of him. And you know what? It was like, why not? It's there. Right. It's 2 hours of my life. It's there. You know, I had the same feeling about Fela. I love Fela's music, obviously, but a really good friend of mine said, you know, listen, it's Dance Africa with like, you know, with better staging. And
with a budget.
With a budget, you know, and I have no problems with Dance Africa, but I was like, listen, if they had given me free tickets, as I told you, I am one of 10 people in the United States who went to that horrible fucking Tupac musical.
Oh, God, I was reviewing it. Believe you went to see that.
Well, I was reviewing it. And all I will say about that Tupac musical is that it was 2.5 hours of air conditioning. It was some of the finest air conditioning I have ever experienced. It was painful. So. No.
That was like when we all went to see Spider-Man the musical. Remember when Spider-Man, they tried to do Spider-Man on Broadway? We left it intermission. We couldn't even, when the fat Spider-Man landed in front of me, I was like, there's a short fat Spider-Man that just landed in front of me. I'm done with this show. Yeah. Intermission came, we looked at each other, it was like 5 of us, and we were like, you know, I don't even think I could sit and see. First of all, throughout the whole first half, we were like, this show doesn't even have a plot. What is this show about?
It's about money and race. I just feel like, all seriousness, unless it's like, you know, something just horrible, you have the opportunity to see something. It never hurts. My problem is just this kind of reverse snobism of like, oh yeah, Hamilton. It's like, yes, we know it's not a documentary. We know there are flaws politically in it, but whatever. We, you know, social media, there you go, social media, somebody thinks what you have to say is interesting and it's really not that interesting. But it's cool that it's on TV, and one of the things that you and I have been discussing is, because we both love TV, because TV is just the best thing ever. And, you know, obviously one of the this thing that's going on disease-wise is limiting what television is going to be, because there's going to be a whole generation of kids who think that interviews are done remotely.
Right.
So I know that like the reality shows, like the Bravo shows, when they have their little confession moments, everything's being done in people's homes, right?
Well, that's only like the Watch What Happens Live and stuff. Everything else has completely come to halt, because you think about it, what their shows are all about. Summer House, people putting the house together. All those Real Housewives, that doesn't work. It's all about them being at different parties, and like there's none of that shit is happening, and Hamptons events and all of that. So,
you know, Ramona Singer was at that party.
Ramona Singer is at the opening of an envelope.
She's a fucking Republican. She's a Republican. No. She's a big time Republican, of course. But she was at that party where what's her face had the topic we're not going to. But yes, so that is, to me, is good.
It's good. Like so. It's just like a full trash heap of trash.
Thank you. That's your motto for today. But it is going to be interesting because, you know, I mean, aside from the economics of it, where obviously a lot of people are going to, you know, be out of work, which is obviously very bad. You know, and we've discussed this before, is how is it going to change the culture in terms of the way we absorb culture? How, you know, how are they going to film things? I mean, none, you know, until they have a vaccine, it's going to be sort of like AIDS testing on porn films, I guess, except that with an AIDS test, you know what to do not to get it. But it's just going to be really weird. So I'm assuming most of what we're seeing on TV now, it's obviously already been filmed. Any show that involves travel, I know you're a Survivor guy. I'm a 90-Day Fiance girl. Those are done. How are they going to do that?
They stopped pre-production on some. There's an Amazing Race that's in the can that has not been seen, which I believe they're holding until fall, because you think about it, even like my friends who work in film and TV, they're starting to get phone calls and everybody's crewing up now for shows to start in August. You know, so that's all of the prep and the pre-stuff, which means they're probably not going to film until September. So we're going to have a very late season of shows coming on TV. So anything you're seeing now has been in the can, which is why if you notice on Channel 5, they don't have any of their summer shows. All of the Gordon Ramsay stuff is all repeats. It's not a new Master Chef. They didn't get to film anything. And I know for Bravo, they were supposed to start airing The Real Housewives of Potomac, and they held that because they know they don't have anything else, so that's probably coming in the fall. And they have a Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, which is completely in the can, so that's being held probably until the fall because they're going to need to fill those slots. But yeah, your show, 90 Day Fiance, it's going to be a long while before we see that because people can't really travel all over and do it. I know. Like, what?
Well, one show that's like my obsession with 90 Day Fiance aside, I'm not. It's suddenly, anyway, one show that's been getting like a lot of buzz, as the kids say, is Michaela Cole. I think that's how you pronounce it. Michaela, is it Michaela or Michaela?
I can't even tell. I change it up each time.
I'm saying it's Michaela only because I know a Michaela, but I could be wrong. But anyway, so she has a show on HBO. It's a BBC production called I Will Destroy You. So it's my son.
And you know about chewing gum, which I loved.
I did not. Okay, I'm so pissed about chewing gum because I read about it and I put it on my Netflix watch list, and in something that is just a metaphor for how I live my life, instead of going back and watching it, I was like, oh look, new shiny show, new shiny show, new shiny show. It'll always be there, and then I'm like, wah, wah, it's gone. I'll find it somewhere. Anyway. So we were discussing how she is like the girl of the summer. She's on the cover of New York Magazine. There's lots of stuff being written about her. She checks off a lot of boxes for the way we are in the culture right now. She's young. She's black. She's British. She's Ghanaian, I believe. Yeah, Ghanaian. Her parents are from Ghana. Super smart, super creative, former evangelical Christian, which is interesting. Anyway, so the show's on HBO, and I started watching it, and you and I have very differing opinions about it. It's very autobiographical, which I guess chewing gum was as well, right? You saw chewing gum, right?
A little bit, but not really. I would say chewing gum was less autobiographical because Tracy, I don't believe she's really Tracy. I think this was based on an experience that she had, and it's kind of just... I would say it's based on an experience she had, but not really autobiographical, and the way they're talking about all kinds of sexual assault and stuff. Listen, I don't unlike it.
No, it is autobiographical. Yeah. She was raped.
Yes, she was, but then a lot of the other things in the stories, I think she's wrote a story based around a similar experience to her, but I don't think a lot of the other things that are happening around it are about. I think that was the root of the story, and then she wrote all of this stuff around it. Listen, I don't unlike it. I'm 3 episodes in, so I need to watch these last 2 that are available. It's definitely, and I like her, and I like her style of writing. It's, you know, I have to get into it a little more. You know, I can see where it's going. It's like a psychological case study, and it's really, it's good writing, and it's an intense show in a certain
it is intense. It is intense. I will say that episodes 4 and 5 are episodes 4 and 5 are really start putting into place where I think it's going. So, I like it a lot. I like her. I think she's great. I think the supporting cast is great. I like the fact that it's so Black centered, that it's very much a slice of life that we don't know in the United States. These are East London African immigrant Black kids, and I like that. Yeah. That it's sort of like Top Boy, like we don't know. This is a whole different world to us. I just think that she's really interesting, and I want to support women. Obviously, I want to support women of color, and I just think it's a perfect show for this moment. And I've been reading about her, and she's kind of the real deal. I mean, she kind of is that girl. Like, I don't know. I think it's interesting. I think come back, tell me what you think of the next two. But it is definitely heavy. It's not like a show you watch it and you go, well, that was fun. You watch it
and I like heavy.
You go, whoa.
You know what I appreciate the most about it? I appreciate that we're finally seeing different stories for Black people. And we're allowed to tell these different stories, because it's like you almost act like these things don't happen to us. All of our stories it's always either like, woe is me, or it's a slave story, or something like she's a single mom. And this is a young writer who's gotten this deal, and it's like these are kids who are trying to do something. Her friend's an actor, and it's telling real human stories. And it's like they happen to be Black people, but it's human stories, not something
episode
that,
4.
Yeah.
Come to me. Just let's talk when you're done, just off the record, when you see episode 4, because the focus is on Kwame on episode 4.
Okay, cool. I like her friend. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, the guy, the gay guy, and I think I would really be interested in not that you're a spokesperson for, but because it's something I've never seen on a television show. It's something I've never seen explored. So I would be interested what you think about it. And the music's great on this too. Whoever does the soundtrack on this, kudos to them. And speaking of music, Courtney, there's a woman that I know that you are getting her name tattooed on some part of your body.
I'd just like to say thank you to Jessie Ware, because, all of these pop kids have been coming with these records, and everybody's like 22 and sad. They're all sad or exploring themselves, and they're like, everybody's singing like huda, tada, tuda, pada, hada, hada, huda, hada.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, what's happening? I'm like, 20. What happened to let's pop it and go dancing? And then here comes Jessie Ware. She's like, Saint Jessie, I've come to save you. I've come to deign the world with a fabulous and glorious 10 out of 10 slice of pop heaven. Her album, What's Your Pleasure, is amazing. And I feel so bad that this album has come out during a pandemic, because in the summer right now, this album should be playing out of every bar and
it's a club record for sure.
And dance floor across the world. It is so 2 a.m. perfect, 3:45 a.m. perfect, getting dressed to go out with your friends perfect. It is just perfect. And here we are having to listen to it alone in our houses. And it's the record I would love to see her singing live, because these songs are so good. And I guess we'll have to wait till sometime in 2021 to see that.
Well, you and I have both been fans of hers for a while. You and I both have a sort of secret love, or not so secret love, for the British soul girls. And what I love about her is that every album is different, but it's always her. When she first started out, she was kind of like more of a dubstep, a little different, and each album progresses. She's like a grown-ass woman. She's funny. These are the records Madonna keeps thinking she's making. And she's not.
Listen, we're going to stop talking about girl Madonna. I have to take up for her because, listen,
right, whatever.
Have I loved the last bunch of albums, no, even though I really did like Madam X. But I'm like, you know, Madonna's a legend. Yes, she might have lost her way. And she posted a picture this week, and I have a friend of mine who definitely knows who Madonna is, a friend of mine sent us on our group chat the picture of her, and a friend who definitely knows who Madonna is like, who is that?
That's funny. No, you know what I mean, though. I mean, I also get a lot of Lisa Stansfield vibe off of Jessie. Which, you know, it's just a nice grown-up record. It's sort of like we love Dua Lipa, and this is almost like if Dua Lipa's older sister decided to make a record.
Because what Dua Lipa gave you is a great, listen, her and Gaga. Gaga delivered a full-on dance record, and hers is peak club, right? There's another one I feel bad for. Her young queens should be spinning. It's like the way I used to be when it was a Madonna new record and popping on the dance floor all summer, and they're being robbed of that. It's really sad. And Dua Lipa came with a great sort of 80s inspired dance moment, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, I love the record. So, what's another record you're digging?
The Pop Smoke album.
I was just going to say that. Oh, my God.
Rarely have, when they talk about, like, these hip-hop records and everybody bigs it up like it's coming. And, you know, he died, so that brings more pressure and you know, what's it going to be? And does it always live up to that? You know, that's for everyone to decide for themselves. But this more than lives up for it, which makes the story even sadder because you're like, okay, here's the talent. You see the talent there. It's not like the things he was saying were so much different than everybody else, but he had a cadence that there was something there, and it just makes it really, really sad.
I mean, I really slept on him, and I gotta be honest with you, because I would hear like my student or kids talk about it, and I'd be like, I'm too old to listen to this shit. And then I would read stuff. He was really musically advantageous because he was like sort of taken from the UK and the Chicago drill stuff, which is much more guttural. His voice, man, I'm like, oh my God, like this, he does not sound like anybody else.
No.
And yeah, he's talking about
which is the key, right? That's the key.
Yeah.
To have that unique thing and because so many of these guys, they sound alike. But he didn't sound like anybody else.
No, and I know like it is sad. Kudos to Stephen Victor, who I remember when he was like a publicist somewhere, and he's his manager, and it is sad. I mean, it's always sad when somebody dies, obviously, but it's sad because, yeah, exactly like you said, you can sit there and go, oh, shit. I mean, you could obviously tell from the singles, you're always up and you're like, oh, yeah, this is so I think it's a great record. I'm glad you like it too. The other day I was like, I am 61 years old and I am listening to Pop Smoke.
Listen, because what do we say all of the time, right? There's some music that seems really geared toward kids, and then there are others who just make really great music. And if you make great music, everybody can understand it. Everybody will like it. And that's what you want. If you can make the thing that's geared toward young people, right? But understand, it's like your shelf life is going to be really short. And as you get older, if those are the only songs you have, when you're really grown, still trying to sing some young shit, it doesn't work the same. So what's your long-term plan?
Yeah. You know what? Do you
minute.
want to talk about more records? Do you want to get into our long-awaited, much-advertised?
Now we're 40. Like we're almost
now we're at
46 minutes in. So we just might as well just keep talking. Wait. Okay. Let's talk about how you do a protest record in 2020. The Chicks March. Let me just tell you something. When they dropped the video, I was sitting in my computer and it just popped up. I was like, oh, the Chicks have a new record. Okay, Dixie Chicks, they're changing name to the Chicks. All right, cool. I clicked on that and I probably watched that video like 5 times in a row. I just kept playing it over and over and over. Just the music, the musicality, the images that they chose, the lyrical content, Natalie Main's voice. And I was like, you know what? These are girls who have really gone through some shit, and they did not come out of this cowering fools. They came out of this standing very tall and having a purpose and having a conviction. And I have to stand up and applaud that. I just thought, wow, this is how you do it. This is a great video, because we're hearing a lot of people putting out songs and protest songs for the moment, but none of them seem urgent. This was the first one to me that felt urgent, and it spoke to the moment exactly where we are. Bravo.
Yeah, no, it's a really good, definitely, and I like the fact that they're not really in the video, so it doesn't put the attention on the white blonde women. It puts the attention on the issue. No, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, we don't need another, like, 3 uber white girls out there going, those are really bad. No, but it is, and I'm very excited to see what it's going to like. I'll just briefly say that, no, come on, you know what I mean, right?
I know exactly what you mean.
I'll just briefly, and hopefully we'll just talk about the Run the Jewels record, which is, they've always been been political, and it's one of those records where it's like, it just proves that this shit's been going on forever because they didn't record it last week. They recorded it a few months ago. And the thing I love about it, among many things, is that it has a Gang of Four sample, which I'm like, wow, no one's ever sampled Gang. This is great. So that's another great record.
Musical reference to pull from. You know what I mean?
What?
And that's a real musical reference to pull from, a Gang of Four reference.
Oh, for sure. I mean, that means you're listening. Yeah, I just think they're a good group. They always have been a good group, and it just sounds really great. I mean, so do you want to go into our long-awaited, or do you want to talk about?
We don't have time. Because if we start that conversation, the show's going to go on another hour. It's like, once again. And it's so funny, when we were talking about the subject, I said to you, I was like, watch, we're not going to get, like, by the time we get...
Here's my idea. Okay, all right, I'm going to get you to commit to something on air. Here's my idea. Okay. My idea is that we get together at some point, we do only covers. We will be forbidden to talk about it. Like, fucking forbidden. If we have to get 2 people to do the show for us, and we'll just feed them lines. Because we can't... It's going to be like, no, I swear it's coming. No, really, I swear. You know what? It's taking us longer to do this cover show than it is for me to get my COVID test results back. Fucking hell, I could be dead by now. Jesus Christ. What's taking so long? Jesus Christ, you stuck it to how long could it take?
I felt like it wasn't that big a deal with the nasal swab. Everybody made that shit. I was ready to be like, oh my God, they're going to pill my brain. I'm going to be really freaked out. When the guy was like, that's it, I was like, that's it? I was like, the way everybody talked about this, I thought I was going to be in here crying, curled in the corner. I'm like, that's it?
Well, I told you what my doctor said, right? I mean, this was actually hilarious. So I was a big pussy about it the first time, too. I just did the blood, and then I said, all right, this is ridiculous. Go back. So the doctor walks in. I went to City MD, free, and he comes in, and he looks at me, and he goes, okay, I think I have finally figured out how to do this so it doesn't hurt. I went, what do you mean you finally figured it out? I said, you have done these before, right? And he goes, oh, yeah, I've done thousands of them. And I said, so why have you just finally figured it out? And he goes, no, because I've been really thinking about a way to make it so it's utterly painless. And I'm like, you're freaking me out here. So he goes, all right, pull down your mask. And he looks at my nose and he goes, all right, that nostril's bigger than the other. I'm like, you're totally freaking me out. And he goes, all right, here's what we're going to do. Here's a tissue. Your eyes are going to water as soon as I'm done. Ready? And I'm like, okay, sure. You know, bing. Literally, it hurt more to have my cuticles trimmed than this did. And I'm like, that's it? And he goes, that's it. And I went, my throat kind of hurts. He goes, that's what you want. He goes, that means I got enough of your brain matter to know what your passcodes are on your computer. And he goes, jokes, Doc. And it was fine. And now I just want to know so I can sort of have a semblance of a life. And
my doctor read one of my chats and said, do you work in music? I said, oh, I retired from the music industry. Now I have a podcast. And he's like, oh, I listen to a bunch of podcasts. So he was doing the whole time, and I was talking about our show.
Nice.
Getting him to sign up.
Never missing an opportunity.
Never miss a moment, hey. I know how to find a man, a date, and listeners for ImmaLetYouFinish.
I am very proud of you. It's like put down the swab, doctor, and sign the fuck up. Listen, speaking of our podcast, let's tell people where they can find this if they don't know, because you're much better at remembering this shit than I am.
Well,
so where are we?
Well,
before that, what's your Meghan McCain? What stupid shit did Meghan McCain say this week?
You know, it's been on repeat. So, like, there's been no...
Why? Why is it on repeat?
July.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. July, though, when you never leave the house. Okay, I'm going to venture to say that the stupid shit Meghan McCain said has been this entire fucking summer.
That.
Everything.
2020 is like the kind of BD that doesn't go away. You can take the shot, but it just doesn't go away.
The gift that keeps on giving that you never wanted in the first place.
It's so horrible.
It's horrible. It's horrible.
Well, remember, guys, we're presented in partnership with Listening Party Presents. You can go to listeningpartypresents.co to their website, and you find our show, a bunch of other great content, great shows. Follow Listening Party Presents on Instagram at Listening Party Presents. Follow us on Instagram at ImmaLetYouFinish NY. Follow us on Twitter at Finish Imma. And go to our glorious Facebook page. Click like, follow us there. We're always posting there. We're always talking there. We're there a lot. It's ImmaLetYouFinish, all one word. And you can listen to us wherever you listen to your podcast. Stitcher, Apple, Google, SoundCloud, Spotify. We're everywhere, darling. We're
everywhere, like city MDs giving out COVID tests that the results come in free. We're free. We are free.
Yeah, real talk, people. Please go get tested. Listen, just the more you know. Like, I did it. I did it just to know, we don't listen. I know people listen to us from all over. We're a little shell-shocked here in the tri-state area. The first couple of months here were really, really bad, and we're seeing what's happening around the country, and, we're praying for you guys. We're thinking about you guys. Please stay safe, get tested, stay home. It's not a game.
Wear a mask. Wear a fucking mask.
It's not a political statement, man. You don't want it to be like it was here. Like, you guys just can't even imagine that. And if you have outbreaks in your towns, just wear a mask. You really don't want it to be the way it was here, because going through that I think we all have a little bit of PTSD from living through that. A little?
Why do you think we can't get to this cover show ever?
Right.
Every time we hear the word cover, we associate it with mask and staying undercover, and then we don't want to leave the house, and we go,
It's very, very that. So,
all right.
Thanks for rocking with us through this whole thing and all that stuff. Take us out, Amy.
All right. Bye, Felicia. Bye, everybody.
It's NFL draft season, and that means it's time to start thinking about fantasy football. FantasyPoints.com features industry-leading experts and prognosticators using proprietary hand-charted data to help you score more fantasy points. FantasyPoints.com is the place to go for whatever kind of fantasy football you play. Whether you play fantasy football, daily fantasy sports, or do a little bit of everything, Fantasy Points has the meticulously researched content to guide you to victory. And why wait for the fall? Fantasy Points also covers the new spring football league, the UFL. Join the guru, John Hansen, Scott Barrett, Joe Dolan, and other massive names in the fantasy football universe with an exclusive offer. Use code Pantheon for 15% off any Fantasy Points package, including the all-in package, with access to every article, tool, and data nugget that Fantasy Points has to offer. That's FantasyPoints.com and code Pantheon for 15% off at Fantasy Points. FantasyPoints.com, code Pantheon. Score more fantasy points.